All right, welcome, folks. And we all agree we are living in very challenging, even if interesting times. Welcome to Homo Politicus on Enterprise TV. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Now, today, when protesters cross the red line, Russian embassy dissociates self from Russian flag flying marchers. Now, our collective experience tends to give a peculiar coloration to protests in the country. You tend to have the moderates and the extremists. Some protesters in some northern states were spotted waving the Russian flag, thus raising concerns among authorities. As expected, the Russian embassy in our country has reacted by denying any involvement in the usage of the European nation's flag by some persons in the opening moments of the #EndBadGovernance protests. It added that the government of Russia does not interfere in the domestic affairs of foreign states. We know for a fact that extremists often use a persuasive rationale and charismatic individuals to attract people to their cause. Of course, the target is vulnerable individuals, mostly the uneducated and the poor, just to give vent to their cause. Are we in a vice? Let's have a conversation. My conversationalists today are very known to you. We have the breezy Cyril Abaku. I greet you.
Thank you, Citizen.
Cyril is a broadcaster and communications expert. Welcome.
Thank you.
Cyril is joined by the inelastic Emeka Madunagu, journalist and national affairs commentator. I greet you.
Yeah, hello viewers.
Gentlemen, when protesters cross the red line, so we've been there before. The Russian embassy dissociates itself from their flag carrying protesters.
Let me start quickly by saying that not all the flags that were waved in Kano, if only for flag's sake, they are Russian flags. Yeah. There's a lot of misinformation and miscommunication. Yeah. So I'm like to say that no, those are the flags of the president. Didn't you see when he used them during his broadcast? The Nigerian president, like presidents all over the world, is usually flanked by two
distinct flags. One of the armed forces, the other one of the country.
Yes. So as president, you see the green light green behind
President Commander-in-Chief.
Then as Commander-in-Chief of the armed forces, you would see the other bearing. Now, the Nigerian, the armed forces bands of Nigeria are horizontally laid. I think it goes from white to a particular hue of blue and then to red. The Russian flag is vertically laid, white, a particular hue of blue, distinct from our own Commander-in-Chief's hue of blue, and then a red that is also different from our Commander-in-Chief's hue of red.
Even so, it is not too difficult to spot a Russian flag amongst them.
No, some people have, because I wanted to begin from there before I come into the issue. Some people have said, no, the protesters are not waving Russian flags. Those flags are even Nigerian flag, which the president had used when he addressed the nation. They are not the same. But even among the protesters in Kano, we saw them waving those colors of white, blue, and red, arranged horizontally. Ostensibly the Nigerian military colors. Yes, thinking that they are flying a Russian. So let's get that out of the way.
So where is the mix-up coming from?
No, see, the thing is this: it's insanity. None of us prays for a coup in Nigeria, and a coup should not happen, because the president, in his speech on Sunday, in the paragraph before the last, he said that we have been enjoying democracy for 25 years, and that nobody should allow himself to be used for what he called an unconstitutional agenda that will set democracy backwards. What does that mean? That's flowery language. Language attempting to say, don't let them use it to truncate democracy, because once democracy gives way, what follows is what follows. We know what follows. Yeah, so that is one. Then number two, the fact that Kano, we've known, is the political headquarters of the North, all right? Commercial headquarters of the North. Whatever happens in Kano can affect the entire North, politically, economically, and otherwise. And we know that
sorry, this is not playing down Kaduna, which is the political
headquarters, but commercial headquarters.
I know,
Kano, yes.
Yeah.
I have to retract.
Good old Kano.
Yes, good old Kano. The oldest city in Nigeria and everything. Kano is cosmopolitan in a manner of speaking. Those people who are telling the protesters to wave Russian flags know what this is coup baiting of 1983, when Shagari cried out and said that this was coup baiting, okay? So they are trying to bait, they are looking for what happened, they are baying for blood. If it happened in Mali and Burkina Faso and Niger and Chad, why not Nigeria? We are countries that have been traditionally known to be francophone, ditched France, and then when the coup took place, people came out and started protesting and waving Russian flags, which changed the foreign policy direction of these countries from France to Russia. So it's like saying, Russia, we see what you are doing in our neighboring countries, come and do it in Nigeria. Thankfully, former director of the NIIA, Professor Bola Akinterima, came out to say yesterday that, look, these protesters are not even protests, they are Nigerians, not Nigerians.
Spelling now.
Yes, in Kano, there are a lot of them. You remember when, I think it was Emeka that was even reminding me before we came on air, how two governors from Nigeria came to campaign during the elections in Nigeria last
2019.
In 2019. And the Nigerian authorities said there was nothing wrong in it. So somehow, I think that this is local politics that could have national consequences, but it's local politics. Those who use those crowds for their purposes
know what
they use them for.
Yeah.
Now that they are singing a song, now that they are singing a strange song in our native land, how do we deal with it? That's the question for me.
More like asking, how do you sing the Lord's song in a strange land?
Exactly.
Okay. Emeka, different Muslim groups, that's going back to January 6, 2020, different Muslim groups in our country organized a protest at Abuja to kick against the killing of an Iranian general, Qasem Soleimani. You know, they burnt the US flag.
Yeah, well,
and so the bystander is tempted to ask, so what's the business of Nigeria with an Iranian general who was felled
by Donald Trump?
Or so it would seem.
But let me speak as a historian. We must know that all through history, there have been, relationships that transcended national boundaries.
Okay.
The world today has become a global village. So you cannot take Nigeria away from anything happening around the world. You'll be surprised that something happening in a remote village in Australia, down under, could cause tremors in Nigeria. Remember, there was a time, just permit me to digress, there was a time the Chinese government caught some people for allegedly adulterating baby milk, executed them. Now, some of the baby milk was said to have made its way to Nigeria. Nothing happened to them. That thing caused a big scandal. Nothing happened to them. Then there have been pockets of things around the world, developments around the world, that somehow found their way to Nigeria. And there were reactions. So you can just see that our authorities, I'll just advise our authorities to get researchers to just follow what the US government did after the September 11 attacks. I was in the United States 2 weeks after that, those terror attacks. And one thing the United States government did was that
good thing they allowed you in.
No, well, the trip was already planned. Well,
okay.
It now had a rethink of its foreign policy, and then now said, okay, fresh. What would I call it? Fresh civil servants who are going into the foreign service must, they had to learn Arabic. There was one of our guides, who said he was studying Arabic because he was going into the foreign service. He was still in pre-recruitment training, so he was learning Arabic. And then the US government now found out that there was a lot about how relations between the Middle East and Africa and Asia and Europe, how they had grossly underestimated these relations. So,
Emeka, but it's just as well that you've mentioned 9/11. In the immediate aftermath of 9/11, the American government decided they must go after as they say, who done it, So the
masterminds.
The Patriot Act came into effect.
Those things came after.
Yeah.
Now I'll come to something in your prologue. Russia is saying it does not get involved in the affairs of member states, and I think that's laughable. I saw that statement as laughable. What was Russia doing in Georgia? What has Russia been doing in other places, Chechnya, even Ukraine?
Emeka, I'm not sure you are begging the question, because Georgia, like Ukraine, were originally in the USSR. In Soviet.
Russia was a member of
Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. You broke down into 15.
No, 22.
15. Okay, that's what
initially 15. Later 20.
But Georgia and Ukraine were part of them.
Yes, but Georgia, that is the home country of Joseph Stalin, right?
Oh yeah.
The point was that a lot of these countries were co-opted to form the Soviet Union. So if at a point they had to break away, it didn't mean that it was the paternal right of Russia to retain them as client states.
No. That's not even where I'm going to. You see, Russia has that underlying belief that these states actually belong to Russia. Thank you very much. So that's why Russia has intervened in Chechnya, intervened in Georgia, now in Ukraine, and threatened to intervene in Poland, in Finland, and some other countries that are close to his border. Why? Because he feels that NATO is a threat. So when Russia says it doesn't get involved in the domestic affairs of member states,
you find it laughable.
It's laughable. That is for that, But the fact of the matter is that different countries, major countries, have had to intervene or interfere, in domestic affairs over the years. What happened in 1989?
We're talking about interest.
Yeah, the United States went to Panama and picked what was the name of it? Picked Noriega. And other things have been happening in different countries. Nigeria went to Liberia. Nigeria went to Sierra Leone. And name it. Nigeria was even in Gambia. Nigeria literally forced Yahya Jammeh out of power in Gambia.
Yeah.
So, and name it, interest. So, to say you don't interfere in domestic affairs, just like maybe you are talking to children in primary school, but we are adults.
Don't you see one of the children asking, "Are you serious?"
And that is it. So, to the instant matter, you see, these days it's difficult to know the difference between the voice of Jacob and the hand of Esau. Because a lot of these things are interwoven. Now, a nation may not, these days, because many leading nations they're reluctant to put boots on the ground, send their soldiers, into countries because of the experience from Vietnam, from Afghanistan, and, some other countries, Iraq, and all of that. So what they do these days is active third-party involvement in countries through mercenary contractors.
Yeah.
So call different names, military contractors, name it, security contractors and all of that. We saw what happened in Iraq with the use of the Blackwater Security Organization.
Okay, yeah.
When, it's engaged in some acts that, caused uproar in Iraq. What about in Somalia? Name it, in different places. So, and then even in Nigeria, the government of former President Goodluck Jonathan actually openly invited mercenaries to remove Boko Haram. So, and he had to postpone the national elections by 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So that thing is just out of the way. So the point we should look at is not about flying Russian flag. Anybody can fly anything. You go to many buildings, around the country, you will see even some private residences. You see different flags of different nations flying, and nobody has said that they are committing an offense. If you remember recently at the wedding of a celebrity, and they were spraying dollars. And they said the FCC cannot arrest them because the legal tender of Nigeria is Naira. We didn't spray Naira. So you have to ask the US government to come and, arrest us. So the issue right now is that, like they say, all cats are gray, in the dark. So these days, it's difficult to know, the difference between white and black and what is in between. So government has to, rethink its foreign policy, get researchers, get experts to look beyond the optics and look at what the colors forming, those optics, the lights forming the colors.
At a time like this, we cannot but look at the messenger and the message. A Nigerian flag cannot be missing in a sea of flags.
Yeah,
you will know it.
See, I take you back to NSAS of October 2020. There's always been this idea that if somebody is holding a flag, nation's flag, that it portrays the person as a patriot, and so you should not shoot at such a person, which was what made all the narrations about the NSAS at Lekki, what happened at Lekki, very, it's just that people didn't think about it. These people draped themselves in Nigeria's flags. So shooting at them and their blood staining the Nigerian flag has left an enduring message that will endure to generations. The implications of that act will come in years later. But what I'm trying to say is that the Nigerian government should just try and sort out its domestic affairs. What people talked about was...
Because as Thomas Paine said years ago, these are times that try men so...
Yes, and if you remember, was it last week on this program or on that program, I said something. I said the authorities, Nigerian authorities should beware of dog whistling. When the IG was saying foreign mercenaries, I said beware of dog whistling, because there are certain comments you can make. As a government official, you are kind of dog whistling, terror groups that are on their own, and you are telling them that,
Otherwise, Emeka, beware the Ides of August.
Yes, it won't be
here. Maybe
you have emergency. Okay, do you know there are many, Britons and Americans who went to Afghanistan to fight, who went to Iraq to fight. And then there was this topic that was discussed on this program some months ago about Russia, asking Nigerians and people from different parts of the world to come and join his fight, against Ukraine, that they will get so.
As if we said them.
Yeah, so that is the way, in a manner of speaking, like Cyril will say, dog whistling. So we should avoid it. Let's sort out the economic problems, deal with them. Because I heard the chief of defense staff saying it's treason. I said, look,
no.
The issues are clear. Face the issue, the instant issue, which is hardship, hunger. Deal with it. Increase the sense of patriotism in your citizens, and then you can now quietly deal with the extraneous issues. Don't muddle the water by bringing the extraneous issues into your domestic affairs.
Okay. Cyril, but let's consider this. Towns and cities, this is not taking anything away from protesters, genuine protests. Towns and cities across the UK have been shaken by a week of protests fueled by online misinformation and extremist views following a deadly knife attack in the town of Southport. We are told a 17-year-old suspect by the name of Axel Rodakubana attacked 5 or so youths, killed them, and so the protests have been triggered. So bring that to Nigeria. The flag issue has been made a capital, made a serious capital out of. You understand? So what's in a name, what's in a flag. Is a flag is a flag.
Yeah. Yes. Let me begin with Tom Paine that you quoted earlier. The matter is that Tom Paine said these are times that try men's souls. Normally, Nigerians who are driving a car, for example, you have a car, you have two flags, Nigeria's flag and maybe Israel's flag. Sometimes we see Nigeria's flag, maybe Saudi Arabia's flag. We see this, even sometimes Nigeria's flag and America's flag. So having the flag is not the issue, but that they are coming at such a time as this, and the circumstances under which they are coming is what is giving us cause for worry.
Yeah, because to you and I, they are making a statement.
They more than a very symbolic statement that serves the purpose to truncate democracy as we know it in Nigeria, which is a possibility, so much that the president had to allude to it in his speech. Yesterday, the president had to suspend fake meeting and then had to summon the security chief to say, guys, come on, let's have a conversation. Now, even at that, I would think that the police still has the front row to play. But I hope we are not too agitated and have not become so set on edge that we are trying to throw the kitchen sink, and which again will most unfortunate because God forbid
by losing the message.
Yes, because God forbid, under such circumstances, you can't trust anybody.
Absolutely.
Yes, so the president needs to. For me, it doesn't take anything to accede to, even if it's one key demand of the protesters. By now, price of fuel should have come down to like 400 or even 200 per liter, because it's possible to do. But the president has chosen to. I mean, we saw this speech; it was a bit standoffish. But let's leave that. The what happened in the UK is not. They're not looking for food to eat. They're not looking for clothes to wear. Somebody argued one time. Say between Nigeria and abroad, which one will you take? He said, between the problems of Nigeria and the problems of overseas. Yeah, he said you prefer their problems. And he said because their problems make sense according to him. You can understand it. Now, believe me, if they had a way to resurrect those dead, they would resurrect them scientifically. But they can't do that. So the things that man can't do, they will not be able to do. But anything that's within man's wisdom and intelligence to do, they learn how to pull it off. But we have not, sadly. Somebody may have an accident now, and he will die because there's no oxygen, in the hospital, or because there's no blood.
Or because people are snapping instead of trying to.
Or the hospital, the nurses are not willing to. They are just negligent.
Yeah.
And there are no consequence for bad behavior. Who wants to be in such a system? Now, citizen, look at what should even be a worry for us is that the leaders of the NSAS protest are not even the ones leading this one. I, for one, have two friends who led NSAS protests in two major parts of Lagos, and they've left the country. Yet, people are still protesting. So it tells that it is about issues. Not people always said Nigerians can't protest; they are too divided by tribe and religion. We are going today. Hunger will unite us. So, God, I just wish that by now we had addressed at least one of
these. Except that there are cynics who would puncture that statement. Hunger cannot make you go to loot or fire.
Why? It will.
Emeka, you are hungry and you break down a shop.
But they say a hungry man is what?
No.
An angry man.
You are hungry. Here is a public store or shop. You join in breaking the thing down and looting it.
I'm not trying to rationalize it, but I'm just using historical antecedents. When Hurricane Katrina happened in the US, what happened? Shops were looted. Black Lives Matter.
No, not by hungry people.
No, you see, the issue of hunger was just a symbolic use of the word to encapsulate, different demands.
Emeka, I'm sorry. Except that rather than underscore hunger, I would say prices of foodstuffs have hit the roof and broken the roof.
Can I tell you something?
Which is more demanding.
Yes, can I tell you something? Where I believe President Tinubu missed it totally. Let me tell you. We have this inherent culture, of exploitation in us, ordinarily. It's unfortunate. So, Nigerians, generally speaking, love to look for a way to exploit their fellow Nigerians. It's a sad aspect of our culture. So for the president ought to have actually looked at the likely, sociological, socioeconomic fallouts of his state. And I think the government will also have that at the back of their mind and be very careful before they bring out certain, policies. If the president had quietly, gone in, remove subsidy gradually, the government would have been able to better manage the fallouts. But you see, filling stations that had fuel, filling stations that are being used for oil theft, where they were going to steal oil from pipeline and from different places, even load fuel from depots, and on the way they will sell part of it. This is part of all the criminality in the oil industry. All of those ones, once they heard that the president said subsidy is gone, they went straight away and hiked the price. Nobody even told them sell at this price. NNPC didn't even tell them sell at this price or sell at this price. But when government now realized what these people were up to, and said, no, adjust it to this, they said, no, we will, typical Nigerian way, let me sell off this one. And when I go back to the market, if it's less, and that has been the excuse everywhere, affecting career and others, even when there is no justification for it.
Emeka, take that line that Nigerians have a penchant for taking advantage of a situation.
Absolutely, and
even if it hurts their fellow countrymen.
Unfortunately, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu played into that. Unfortunately, by that announcement, it's not all Nigerians, but the thing is this. I've heard people say they went to the market. They asked this person, how much is a bowl of gari? The person said so and so amount. Went further down. The person says, okay, why are you people, why are your prices different? I know the market price, but they appear to be, there was somebody that said that. One lady whispered to her and said, that look, please just take this thing, find a way to give me the money and go away, because they find out, they will punish me and send me out of the market. All of these reports have been coming in. What about somebody who said he went to a remote market? He heard about how people were being, even the sellers of gari were being exploited somewhere in the south. And then he decided to do an investigation. And they told him that, look, those women, when they come with their gari in the morning, they set their prices. But when there are no buyers, these women are forced to just drop their prices to ridiculous so that they don't go home with the commodity. Right. And then that the Nigerian government should look into the role of middlemen in this, price hikes.
Thank you. Sorry. Time is tight. Time is tight, but so I don't miss it. Now, the Chief of General Staff, Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has promised to crack down crack down over the treacherous use of the Russian flag. So, Cyril and Emeka, I'm sure we have heard the phrase, people's power is more, people's power is more than the power of, people's power is stronger than the power of a powerful people. I don't know if I'm casting it properly.
Yes. We understand it, and this is why we have to prevail on the authorities. Now, I'll give an example, a very good example. Right now, as it is, the demands we saw the protesters list have largely been left unmet. I don't know what the president thinks. Maybe he believes that somehow the protests will peter out, but they may not. What I suspect will happen is that after the 10 days, we begin to have pockets of protests, ongoing protests. Look at Lagos. The momentum seems to have doused, but look at Abuja, look at Jos, look at Kaduna, look at Kano, look at other places.
Taraba.
Yes. So, the president...
You think there's the north of us, the north of here, is not sending a message?
Well,
I'm speaking as a man.
I understand what you mean, but
from the sidelines.
Yes, but my contention is if there are issues that are giving rise to protests. Those issues had better been addressed. The president came up and said that it was a political agenda. Then he said protesters died. They think that they were killed. He also said that protests are violent against the promise of protest organizers. And I said, is it a proper organized protest that caused violence? We saw them hurling tear gas at protesters.
Shooting bullets.
Shooting like
the policeman was actually caught saying, I will kill, and then he shot at protesters.
They should stand and think that those bullets are flowers. I don't think so. What would happen is that even if these 10 days came to an end, today is day 6, okay? What I suspect will happen is that there will be pockets of protest because the issues have not been addressed. And sometimes they could reach a crescendo, sometimes they could follow, but you know, these processes appear to have come to stay. Now, you talked of stealing earlier. People steal when they're hungry. I'm sorry, but like Emeka, I'm not justifying it. Sometimes we've caught thieves that we say, this one is hungry. Give him food to eat and let him go. If you beat him, you're not helping his matter. I don't know whether I've seen that
before. Yes, you're right. Very true.
They caught the boy. So what did he steal? What did he do? He looked very hungry. When last did he? 3 days ago. They give him food to eat. He should be on his way. He needs rehabilitation, not prosecution.
Yeah, he ate 3 days ago, and he still has the power to go.
With the last energy now, he came to carry.
I'm sorry. Maybe
I'm not talking about looting.
Belong in your.
No, I'm not talking about looting. I'm talking about stealing. Now, so when we see the looters, okay, there is what they call the brevity of man. When he sees an opportunity, he could turn it to something else. After all, those are still in government.
Fine. What motivates them?
They are raised.
They are
well-fed, well-educated. Sometimes we have professors, you know, well-educated, raised in very strong religious homes. My father was very strict. He never let us go out in the night. I made a first class from ABU Zaria, and yet you make him jam registrar or head of NNPC. And what did he do? In the end, they say appropriation. You see, what is either a cat, a dog, a goat, a snake, a python, a monkey,
stealing money.
Are stealing money. So if looters are looting during protest,
those animals steal money in children's books.
Now, so Nigerian.
Sadly.
Sadly. So last question.
Yes.
Are we in a vice?
No, of course.
We are not. Because the admonition is, if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging.
The government has found that its people are in a hole. Somebody put on his WhatsApp status the other day, they said a president can win an election only to lose the nation. Our president won an election. Let's even give it to him. But he should not win. He should win. He should not lose the nation.
It happened to George Bush Senior.
These people. I'm sorry to end it this way. It's quite unfortunate that we came to this pass. The president should intervene. He should make sure that things get better, and that the subsidy regime that he now we don't know whether they are paying subsidy or not paying again, and yet the price of petrol is more than 1,000 naira. Should we really be here? I don't think we should.
It's talking about the crazy choices we are making.
But he said he made the choice, and I stood by it in the speech. How do we justify that?
No, you are not ready to swim against the tide.
well, for me, I think the government is missing a big opportunity. And what is that opportunity? You know, subsidy has been removed. Quite all right. Now, to the people, it looks like a death sentence. But it's about the, crafting a narrative, government crafting a narrative that there are alternatives. Government has been talking about CNG, but unfortunately, the government, I don't know if it's not sincere about that, the CNG
No, but Emeka, I see CNG buses. They are few and far between anyway.
That's what I'm going to. That
actually even said that it's fuel they are using, because we don't know where they are going to fuel the.
No, there are some CNG filling stations. There is one. They are here and there. What I'm saying is that the president, instead of giving out money, 50,000 and all that to families, it's good, but I think the president should have come out. Already you have an indigenous vehicle manufacturing company that has said it will roll out more CNG buses. I think the government should have actually gone into that in terms of conversion and say, okay, we are going to get 1 million Nigerian youths employed in conversion of vehicles and buses to CNG, and we're going to do it in the next 6 weeks so that we can gradually, transit in terms of public transportation to CNG.
I hope you are not reading your prepared speech.
No. I have said this before on different forums. I said, government, there are words you can use to douse tension, then buy time. Such that you say we're going to employ 1 million youths, and let me tell you something. It's not as if government can bring out money, bring out expertise, set up these centers, but now gradually those people will be paying back.
Emeka, I defer to you. Nigerians are not a difficult people.
No, but the way the narrative, if you handle the narrative well, sincerely speaking,
they will forgive
that issue
and move on.
That issue of CNG, I thought whoever crafted the president's speech should have actually dwelt a lot on it. That was the link that, no problem, but we are trying to, hasten action on this CNG so that it will be easy. For instance, you can use CNG trucks to carry food, to carry petroleum products, to move people about and all of that. So we are going to do that within the next 6 weeks. Give us time, or within the next 3 months. Right. So with that, you are buying time, and then tempers we could. But I would like to just say, wrapping on that, look, the government should just leave that issue of flying Russian flags or Japanese flags or anything. Let us deal with our issues. If there are such
there's a way of keeping those tendencies
quiet. So it's not, don't try to don't make heavy weather out of those things. You can quietly, even if whatever.
We've been there many times.
Yes. So thank you so much. So we saw in the past when there were some riots that were inspired by religious motives, how government quickly moved in to douse the tension. So let us now borrow a leaf from the things we have done in the past to say, please reduce the tension. Let's deal with the issue of whether hardship or hunger.
Gentlemen, the producer says we must apply the brakes, but let's do so here. But not before thanking Cyril Abaku. Cyril, time is the master here, so we'll not go. Emeka, time is the master as well.
Thank you.
Well, let the debate continue in your part of town. Our job here is done. Ours is to mold opinion and allow decision makers to take heed. On behalf of the Backroom Boys, this is yours sincerely, Citizen Jones Hussein. Thanking you for your time. Bye-bye now. Enterprise TV, a tradition of